Which three teams are going to get promoted from the Championship to the Premier League this season? Hello guys, and welcome back to yet another video. Yes, it might be the international break, which is not our favourite thing, but for me, at least it means I'm not having to watch Coventry City lose every week. In all seriousness though, I thought we could take today to look at which three teams might be getting promoted even this early on into the season. Before we get into the video guys, be sure to share your own thoughts down in the comments. We're just going to have a look at each of the teams at the top end of the Championship. Feel free to predict which three teams you reckon will be promoted at this early stage. Be sure as well to hit the like button. We'll go for 1,000 likes on this one. It can be a real grind doing content during the international break, so your support is much appreciated. And make sure as well to subscribe, get involved and help us push to 79,000 subscribers next. With all that said and done, let's have a look at the teams at the top end of the Championship. So then, in first place we have Sunderland, who are top yet again going into the second international break now. And to be honest, you've got to put it down to that fantastic first block of games that got them to the first international break. Because just looking at the form in the last 5 games, there's been a loss, a win, a loss, a win and a draw. That dramatic late equaliser from the Meslier error in that 2-2 draw with Leeds on the Friday night has kept Sunderland top of the table. Now, I've been really impressed with Reggie Labrie. Let's be honest, some of us, some neutrals when it came to Sunderland, were not all too sure what to think of them coming into this season. Credit to Gab Sutton, by the way. I think he predicted them to win the league. It is early days though, and I'm not going to be as bold as to go as far as to say Sunderland are my favourites to win the league right now, but I definitely have them in that conversation to be promoted right now, and I think at a minimum their fans have got to be looking at a playoff place come the end of the season given this fantastic start. That said, like I say, that first block of games has certainly been the benchmark, and that brilliant start, as we said before, means that even if you lose, win, lose, win, lose, win throughout the next games, you'll still stick around near the top end. The form from the last 5 games has been the form of a team between mid-table and the playoffs, so maybe a few wins needed after the international break to solidify their place up in the top 6 and the top 2 at the moment. As for the players, I've got to be honest, I've been impressed with Romain Mundle. I think Bellingham's showing some really good signs. Chris Rigg, the youngster, is getting some crucial goals. So I've got to say right now, Sunderland are impressing me, and given the way they are going, I wouldn't blame any of you in the comments for saying they are one of your teams to get promoted this season. But like I say, still early days with only 9 games gone. In second place, I think we've got to call Sheffield United the form team in the division, and remember of course, if it wasn't for that 2-point deduction, they would be top of the table, and they're the only team in the Championship undefeated after 9 games, which is incredible. I believe they've got Leeds United next, which really will be interesting. With the likes of Gustavo Hamer, Callum O'Hare, Rak-Sakyi and of course Harrison Burrows and Kiefer Moore, there is just so much quality in that squad. And let's not forget, some people, once again neutrals, did have reservations about Sheffield United coming into this season. Some people went as far as to think they'd be somewhere in the bottom half this season. Now granted, yes, they did get their business done late, and with a 2-point deduction there was fair reasons to be sceptical, should we say. I still predicted them to have a top 6 finish. I think I said 4th place, but right now, as I say, with them being pretty much the form team in the division, and they would be top without that deduction, you've got to fancy them to be right up there come the end of the season. And you do think with Chris Wilder now looking back to his best, they've got every chance of doing it, because he's walked that walk before with Sheffield United, and it would be some story if he gets them up for a second time. Sheffield United fans, certainly do share your thoughts down in the comments. Right now, you're one of my favourites to get up this season. I'm really, really impressed. In third place are a team that also came down with Sheffield United from the Premier League. It's Burnley. They're 1 point behind Sheffield United and Sunderland. It's still so close at the top here. Now Burnley, remember, they've only lost 1 game this season. That was to Sunderland. And their numbers have been really confusing. They've been skewing in all sorts of directions, from a 5-0 win against Cardiff with their XG actually being quite low in that game, and it looked like they were just scoring screamers and making goals out of nothing. At the same time, I do want to give credit to players like Brownhill, Egan Riley, Cullen. I mean, let's not forget Burnley have had to really change things up a bit with the amount of players that have gone out the door and with the new manager like Scott Parker coming in. But looking at this, I'm really impressed, and they've got the potential, especially being a parachute payment team, to blast right back to the Premier League. They did do it 2 years ago, yes, with a different manager, Vincent Kompany, but you can see that same potential there. And Burnley, for me, are a team I'm looking at thinking, I don't think they've got into the higher gears yet. I think we're still not even seeing the best of Burnley, and they're in 3rd place, so that's surely a good thing. Once again, I will put that to the Burnley fans to share their views on their respective club. Do you think you will get promoted again, or could you see yourselves tripping up this season at all? I fancy Burnley to be right up there come the end of the season. In 4th place, West Bromwich Albion. We've got a lot of powerful teams up here, and a lot of teams that you would expect to be up here and have been up here over previous seasons. Now, with West Bromwich Albion, the main thing is Carlos Corberán. I do think if we had a vote on who is the best manager in the Championship right now, and we put that to neutrals, Carlos Corberán would come out on top, or at least in the top 3. I would be surprised if it was anywhere lower than that. He's doing fantastic with West Bromwich Albion. Yes, they've got lots of great quality players, but I always think that he does seem to bring out more of them than maybe another manager could. Of course, we highlighted that their top scorer last season was Thomas Asante, and he went out the door to Coventry. Now, a lot of West Brom fans at the time did say, well, that's not the biggest loss. He does work hard, but he isn't always the most consistent and the most clinical, and Josh Madger is certainly stepping up to the plate this season, with the likes of Mauer as well. They've got a lot of quality there, with Bartley as well at the back. There's a spine to this team. That said, we do need to highlight that it is just 1 point picked up in the last 3 games for West Bromwich Albion, but I do think they'll turn a corner soon. Maybe after a 2-week international break, they might get back to winning ways. I do fancy West Brom to be up there this season as well. And in 5th place, Leeds United. Once again, I'd be surprised if they're not up there come the end of the season. They've been really good this season, but still, once again, not faultless. Leeds United fans must be so frustrated with that most recent game against Sunderland. If they'd have taken 4 points from Norwich and Sunderland away, that would have been incredible. In the end, they've been left with 2 points, and very frustratingly, 2 points dropped there at Sunderland right at the end, as Meslier made a massive mistake for that late equaliser. Yes, it raises questions about Meslier. I suppose there has been a few people sceptical of Farke as well, but once again, it's still early, and they're in that territory where I think they're okay. If they fall out of the top 6 or 7 as we move into game week 12 and 13, maybe then questions can be asked. But I think right now they're in a decent position that once they do get a good winning run coming, and I'm sure it will come for Leeds at some point, they could blast right into that top 2. Leeds United fans, I know there's a lot of them that watch the channel. Please do share your thoughts down below. I do feel like there's plenty of fans that have got varying views on whether the glass is half full or half empty. Yeah, you're sitting in an okay position right now. Like I say, if you chuck the 2 points back on without that Sunderland mistake, you'd be up in 3rd or 4th, so a bit frustrating, I guess. And then wrapping up the top 6, we've got Watford, and once again, I for one can put my hand up and say I did not expect this from Watford. They're still hanging around in that top 6. Now, yes, they've had a great start. They picked up some great points in the first chunk of games before international break 1. The form has certainly dipped. The last 6 games has seen a loss, draw, loss, win, loss, win. It's been a bit inconsistent, but they did get a good win against Middlesbrough just before the international break. They're certainly capitalising on some so-called clubs that would maybe have had higher expectations to be up there and have not delivered so far. Maybe Luton, Coventry, Middlesbrough. I know you've got Norwich just outside the playoffs as well. So full credit to Watford at the moment. And looking at those next few games, they've got Luton Town next, which will be interesting, of course, and then Leeds United and Blackburn. 3 really big games there for Watford. If they can take 6 points out of that difficult 3 games, they'll certainly stick in that top 6 going into international break 3. Just outside the playoffs in 7th place, we've got Norwich City. Now, Norwich have been really decent in the last few games. They started slow in that first chunk of games going up to the first international break, and it's been 3 wins and a draw in the last 4 games, churning out 2.5 points per game in that short sample size there. Yeah, with the likes of Sargent and Borges signs, they've really got the quality to compete at the top end, and I'm glad to see Thorpe getting a tune out of them. It does feel like there is that unity at Norwich City, that things are coming together, things are clicking. Maybe the international break has come at the worst time possible for them, because the way they've been playing and scoring goals, you could see them really going on a long unbeaten run. I'm sure if they're good enough, they still will after a 2-week break, but yeah, lots of cause to be optimistic for Norwich fans right now. In 8th place, we've got Blackburn Rovers, who had a great start to the season, but they lost their unbeaten run at Coventry City, and that was followed by a dramatic 2-1 defeat to Plymouth Argyle in the most recent game. So 2 defeats in the last 2 has pulled them out of that top 6. Once again, credit to Blackburn Rovers though for a great start, and I'm sure Eustace will turn that back around and get them a few wins after this international break. Like I say, that great start has held them in good stead, and once again Blackburn, given some of the expectation from some people, a surprise package. So yeah, fair play to them despite 2 defeats in the last 2. Let's look at a few teams together here then. 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. We've got Middlesbrough, Oxford, Swansea, Derby. Now Middlesbrough, always expectation for them to do quite well. They have been okay, they've been pretty good on the whole, I would say, but just that bit of inconsistency that's letting them down. They did win back-to-back games before that late defeat to Watford. It's just those moments, could it kill them this season? Ultimately, they're 2 points outside the top 6, so they're not a million miles away from it, but it can be the hope that kills the Middlesbrough fans sometimes. I maintain that there's a lot of quality there, but yeah, like I say, a little bit frustrating at the moment for Borough fans that they're kind of on the cusp, but they can't quite break in, but it is still early days. Oxford and Derby, let's highlight them together because both come up. It would be a massive surprise if they got into the playoffs this season. And look, let's see. Okay, it's early days. We've played 9 games. I'm sure the objective for both fans is to just stay up this season. But once you've got past, I don't know, 30 points, and say if you've done that by Christmas or New Year, you can really start looking up the table. And I'm not going to deny the Oxford and Derby fans to dream big, so go for it. Only thing I would say is maybe as I expected, they've been a lot better at home than they have been away. 10 of Oxford's 12 points have come at home, and 12 of Derby's 12 points have come at home. So full credit to them for making their home grounds fortresses. If they can chuck on a few more away results, then I'm sure they will keep themselves away from trouble, which they have been doing so far. And in the middle of that Oxford-Derby sandwich, you've got Swansea City, who've been fairly steady. They did have a couple of good results together, but ultimately they've picked up 2 points in the last 3, which has seen them slip away a little bit. I like what I'm seeing from Swansea, quite good defensively. I just think goal scoring seems to be a bit of an issue. In all competitions, it's just 4 goals in the last 7 games. So that is really maybe where they need to address if they're going to improve and maybe break into that top 6 potentially. But ultimately, good start from Swansea. And then let's have a look at a few teams here. Hull City, they had a good couple of wins, but their slow start and their most recent defeat has got them just in 13th place. Plymouth Argyle, once again, it'd be a surprise if we saw them anywhere near the playoffs, but I'm glad to see them quite clear of the drop, considering some of the expectations and the talk about Wayne Rooney and him being the worst championship manager ever. Some really good results recently, and once again, very similar to Oxford and Derby, can they make Home Park a fortress? And I really think they can. You've got Sheffield Wednesday, have picked up some really good results recently. 7 points from West Brom, Coventry, and a draw at Bristol City, so they're doing really well. I'm a real big fan of Danny Roll, and once again, those Sheffield Wednesday fans that came to the CBS were amazing. They could really be on to something this season. Bristol City, they've just come into the international break on the back of 3 draws, their most recent one being a 1-1 draw with Cardiff, with McNally getting the equaliser. Right now, they also sit on 11 points, the same as Wednesday and Plymouth. And then, look, there's a few teams below them. You've also got the likes of Coventry and Luton, where there was some expectation at the start of this season, and I'm not ruling them out of competing for a playoff place, because We all know how crazy the Championship is. A team can be in the bottom 3 or even bottom of the table in October and still go on to make the playoffs. So I won't rule any of those teams out, but let's not really involve them too much in a promotion discussion given how slow their starts have been. But that will wrap it up for today, guys. Like I say, just a little look at the promotion race. The 3 teams I would be leaning towards for promotion, very difficult. I do like Sheffield United. I'm always going to maintain that Leeds will be up there. And I suppose, you know, if you're going to go with history and logic, it does tell you that parachute payment teams do bully their way up. So I'm thinking Burnley could be that other team. But Sunderland's great start and West Brom's great start. I've got them in good stead. But like I say, it could be anyone that sneaks into the playoffs come the end of the season that could also go up at the end of it. So I will put it to you guys in the comments to let me know which 3 teams you think will be promoted given what we've seen so far this season. Like I say, I'm all ears to your opinions. Let's keep them respectful though. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Peace out.